forever licked.
I'm Carmen. Everyone knows me as Dee Dee. I'm 27.
Mama always told me, baby, you gotta walk by faith and not by sight. Real talk, you gotta listen.
So everything began in 2010 when I met my son's father. Everything was all good, in the beginning, that puppy love stage. 2011, everything kind of took a change for the worst, wasn't for the better. That entire relationship was just very drama filled with females, the cheating, just anything that you could possibly think of, I went through with this man. Anything. And, he was, in the streets. He was doing things, he probably shouldn't have been doing. In the midst of that, I got involved. People don't really care about if you're a female, if you happen to be around that person, hey, you just SOL, like, it is what it is, and that's just what happened. So even knowing what he was involved with, the people he was around, the things that he used to do, it didn't really bother me as much. I'm just like, hey, that's just what comes with him. It didn't really dawn on me, like, I just used to always feel nothing could happen to me, I was just very gullible, naive, for a better word, stupid. And, it's been plenty of times that I was caught in crossfire. It's been plenty of times that we've been shot at together when I'm with him. We've been in a house, people shoot at his house, with his family in there, at his actual window. It was just a lot. I'll never forget one time, we were sitting in the driveway with him and his friends, and we see a car pull up, and, you just see the car just slow down. I'm looking, being nosy. But even prior to me seeing this, I had a bad feeling like, yeah, it's just time to go. We just need to go. They'd be like, no, wait, what you rushing for? You always rushing. I'm like, no, I don't have a good feeling about being here right now. And my feelings, my vibes were absolutely correct. Car pulled up. You see two people shooting outside the car, and they shot at the car. The car got hit at least 17 times. And I just felt the bullets flying past my head. And I just remember, like, he wasn't in the front seat with him. It was his friend. And because I was just so stunned, I couldn't move. Like, I was too scared to move. And his friend kind of, like, got over top me, pushed me out the car. And he was the one that actually got shot. So, even after that, I still was dealing with him. It's just like, I could have lost my life. My car was done for, and it was just one of those things, yeah, young mindset. I'm gonna ride for him, die for him, whatever. Just being stupid. Like, not really realizing that what was going on was very, very serious. And I just didn't care. But when I think about it, he put me in a lot of situations like he didn't care. I actually went to jail over him, over things that he was doing. Basically wanted me to take charges because, if he messed up one more time, he was going to prison. And me being stupid, yep. I was actually willing to take the fault for everything and completely ruin my life altogether. And at that point, I still didn't care. Like, I still was just, I love him. I want to be with him. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to stand by his side. And after all of that, it still didn't really dawn on me, like, girl, this dude does not care about you. He worried about himself. He worried about not going to jail. He worried about, he's just worried about him. Because I feel like if any man really cares about you, they would never put you in that situation. They would never make you choose at all. It was to the point that I was really at a low point in my life. He would put me down, like, you ugly, this, you that. And I still dealt with it. Even despite everything that he was saying, I still dealt with it. I still wanted to be with him. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do everything possible so then that way he would choose me. You know, and it's sad. It really is sad that, you know, I was that weak that I allowed somebody to just down me like that. Knowing that, you know, I'm just doing everything that I possibly can. I'm not out here cheating. I'm not out here wilding. I'm not out here doing any of that. And you just out here blatantly disrespecting me altogether. You know, it even got to a point, you know, he did have another child on me while we was in the relationship. And I really think that tore me apart. Because it's like, yo, like, you really got me out here looking crazy. You really got me out here looking crazy. But I allowed myself to look crazy because even despite all of that, I still dealt with him. And it didn't take until I found out I was pregnant. And I really wanted to leave him alone, and I found out I was pregnant. It always happens out like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, I'm pregnant. We gonna be together. That's not the case at all.
Whatever don't kill you, make you stronger. Well, I must be the world's strongest woman. See, I done a whole lot of going. Everything you say, I'm already knowing. Cause I'm up against the wall. Everything you're going through.
So in 2012, I found out I was pregnant. I think it had to have been the very beginning, maybe February. Whenever it was, I found out I was pregnant. It always happens like when you're trying to really leave somebody alone. And I was really getting myself together at that point. We really weren't together or anything. We kind of like had separated ways. And when I found out I was pregnant, it was just, now I'm stuck with you for life. Like, now I really got to deal with you. Really have to deal with you, and I wasn't trying to deal with him at that point. So even with me being pregnant, it was a lot of drama that came with that too. He ended up going to jail when I was pregnant, and I actually went through that entire pregnancy by myself, and that was hard because, you know, you want the person that you know, you're having a baby by to be there. I had nobody. It was just my mom. At that point, me and my mom, we weren't in a very good place. She was absolutely furious that I was pregnant. And I think it was more so who it was by. You know, her thing was she just didn't want me to struggle. You know, I was 21. I didn't really want to have any kids because I seen what all my friends went through. And I'm just like, you know, I don't want any. That was just not my goal. You know, children are blessings, but I just don't want them to come this way. And, you know, I ended up having my son by myself. My mom was there and my cousin. But my mom was there holding my hand. And just to go through all of that, that was very heartbreaking. I felt like I didn't really have that emotional support. It was so crazy. He didn't even call me, and he knew that I was in labor. He didn't call me until the next day. But even despite all of that, I had to go through emergency C-section. My son's heart rate was decreasing, and they couldn't tell why. They didn't know why. So I had to go through emergency C-section, and when he was born, he wasn't here. You know, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, so he wasn't breathing. When he came out, he was blue. And no one actually told me that until a few years later. And, you know, that's why I say that he is my miracle baby. You know, and just by me having my son, that changed me a lot. But even after that, I still was talking to, you know, my son's father when he was in jail. I found out that he was served 8 years. And I'll never forget one of his friends called me and was like, why weren't you there? You know, why didn't you go? Like, that's your baby daddy. That's this. You know, at that point, I think I was just like, you know what, it is what it is. Like, I was really trying to get myself together, worry about my son. I wasn't worried about what he had going on. It was just like, you ended up in there, what you want me to do? Like, you know, I done tried to do everything for you when you was out. You still carry me. You go to jail, you still carry me. Like, you still having me out here look like a fool. I'm just not doing it no more. So what am I going to be here to hold you down for? Like, no, you're not even out here holding me down. You're not out here, you know, respecting me. And Even when you was in here, even when you was in jail, you still weren't respecting me. Still having me look crazy. And at that point, that's when I just was like, you know what? I don't know what it was. I just woke up one day and everything was different. Everything. Like, I just woke up like, no, I refuse to deal with it anymore. I'm not dealing with it. We're not going to do that. And I really was becoming more independent. You know, raising a child by yourself, it's not the easiest thing. You know, his family isn't really involved in his life. So it's just me and him, me and my son and my mom. My mom is my support system. But when I found out that he had got 8 years, my mom just broke down. I didn't even break down. She was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here for you. We're gonna get through this together. You're not going to be in it alone. I'm never going to leave your side. After I had my son, I went through like a stage where I was very depressed. That postpartum is very real, and I just couldn't understand why. I don't know if it was because I was going through everything by myself and raising a child by myself, or I don't really know. It just was a lot going on at once. You know, everything financially fell back on me. I actually went back to work 3.5 weeks after I had my son because I needed income. I needed money to come in. I needed to make sure that he was good because his dad wasn't here. So when I went back to work 3.5 weeks later, it was like I didn't really get a chance to bond with my son. I didn't get a chance to really do much of anything. It was just like, I gotta work. I gotta make sure that he's taken care of. I gotta make sure that he has diapers. I gotta make sure that he's good. Can't depend on anybody. Didn't want to ask my mom for anything, you know, even though she was actually watching him for me, you know, since he was a baby. I didn't want him to be in daycare, and it wasn't free, by the way. I was still, you know, my mom was like, no, I'm going to teach you some responsibility. No, baby, since, you know, this is my grandson. I love him, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do. And I think I just became real angry at that point because it was just like, yo, I'm really out here just doing it by myself. Everything. It started to get to a point where I hated my job. I was starting to hate my life. I started to become really, really depressed. My mom's like, you know, maybe you should speak to a therapist. I'm like, no. People that talk to therapists are crazy. You know, that was my mindset at the time. And I think I was more so angry because, you know, in the midst of my mom watching my son, I wanted to live my life too. I wanted to, you know, sometimes I needed a break. Sometimes I wanted to go out with my friends. Sometimes I just needed to get out, period, because all I knew was work and home. Work, my son, and home. That was it, and I did it all over again. It was to a point my mom was like, I watch him all, you know, during the day. You know, you don't need to go out. And it was to a point like, I didn't trust anybody else with my son, so it was never that deep. So it was like I was locked in for a while. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I would be able to go out, but it was just like I had to ask. You know, and I think, I'm grown, you know, why I got that? But I had to understand, like, you know, somebody else is doing you a favor. You can't get upset with them saying no. You can't get upset with them. And I feel like I was just in this box for so long that she didn't really understand that sometimes I just needed a break. In her eyes, I'm just assuming she felt as though, like, you don't need a break. But everybody knows that we need mental breaks, and without it, it doesn't end too well. So, you know, eventually I was just dealing with everything. You know, started to really accept, okay, I'm a single mom out here. It is what it is. Your son didn't ask for you to be here. You know, your son didn't ask to be here. He's just an innocent baby. So just do what you got to do. You know, you're going to have to take up both roles at this point because his father isn't here. So there's no need in complaining about it anymore. Let's do what you got to do. You know, it's just sad because, you know, my dad, he was in and out my life. You know, he wasn't consistent. And I felt bad because I felt like the cycle just started over again. Like, I didn't want that for my son. I wanted my son to be able to grow up with his dad. I wanted my son to be able to, have a father figure to be able to look up to. And I just felt like, I failed him at that point. So instead of, really feeling sorry for myself, I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. Do what you got to do for your son. And towards 2013, I would say I was really getting the hang of everything. I was okay. I was content. I had a little bit more freedom. My mom was understanding, like, this is what you need. All right, cool. In 2013, I believe that's when everything really just hit rock bottom for me. I was sexually assaulted. I was raped by somebody that I knew, that I was close to, at gunpoint. And at that point, it was just like I was more so embarrassed. I was so hurt in the inside, like, wow, how could somebody do this to me? What did I do to deserve it? Like, it was just like, I don't do nothing bad to nobody. I'm a very genuine person, and for somebody to just, blatantly just disrespect you and just have no heart at all to just do what they did, like, that's a lot to take in at that point. It's like, wow, I can't trust nobody at this point. So even after the incident, I had went to the hospital, and I never forget how the register lady, I guess the people that, why are you here? She said, I told her, she was like, oh, so are you one of them girls that are trying to that had a train ran on them, that's why you here? And at that point, I was just so discouraged, like, what? Like, how could somebody just be so heartless to even say something like that? Like, it was hard enough for me to even walk up in here knowing what's about to happen, knowing that the police is about to get involved, knowing that, something really tragic just happened, and I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. I was just confused, like, I'm scared, and this is what you say to me? So at that point, I just walked out. Like, if she could say something like that, who else is going to believe me? And that's just how I felt at that time. So, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody at all. And it was to the point that I was holding that in for the longest. I would see this person around, and it was just like, in the inside, I just wanted to kill him. But I knew that eventually every dog has its day. That's how I feel about this situation. But to be able to look your rapist in the eye and just be like, and you just have no remorse for what you did, that was hurtful. That was hurtful, and it took me a while, and I'm still dealing with it. It took me a while to, like, really accept that happened too. I didn't want to accept that it happened. For a while, I was actually in denial about it. Like, no, just walking around with this mask on, like, yeah, everything's okay. To go through something so traumatic and still have to be a mom, I think mentally that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Because you don't want your child to really see you down. You don't want them to see that, something's wrong with you. So I just tried to remain strong. For a while, I put it to the back burner as if nothing ever happened. I had put this mask up, like, everything's okay. It is what it is. Nothing happened to me. I'm good. My son was really the one that I'm just like, you know what? Despite whatever happened to me, I gotta just push through it. Your son needs you. He was my strength. I looked to him like, whenever I was feeling down, like, that was my go-to.
I just wanna be happy, but if I keep on giving my heart for people to tear apart, the healing will never start. So I can be happy.
Yes, Lord.
Will I ever be happy?
In 2013, I met who is now my daughter's father. I met him when my son was 9 months old at the time. And he basically took the father role at a young age. He actually, did for my son. He had a relationship with my son. My son loved him dearly. Like, they're like this. And things were getting a little bit better. I had, the support. He was there. And, just the fact that he loved my son, how he loved him, that definitely meant a lot to me, because you can't bring everybody into your children's life. So going into 2014, I went through like this transitional stage. I was just tired. I was just tired of being at my job. I'm like, what is something better out here? I have to broaden my horizons a little bit. I ended up leaving the job I was at for 3 years, and I decided to go to another job that definitely just wasn't what I thought it would be. And this is a job that I wanted for a very long time. And it's like the grass isn't always green on the other side. I chose to actually leave that job and was just in and out of jobs for years. Like, I'm just like, if I'm not happy somewhere, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to be stagnant or be content or just settle. So I just decided to just, try to figure out my way, like what I really wanted to do. And, that was hard because when you're in transition to different jobs, that means that, you're not always getting paid. Some bills aren't getting paid. I was behind on a lot of things, but I think at that point I was just like, whatever, I just want to be happy. I'm on a road to happiness, and that's all I want it to be. I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be, just feeling like I'm stuck in a position. So in 2015, I actually got hired at a job that I had applied to back in 2012, and I didn't get it. And I was just, like, discouraged. Like, dang. Because this would have been a job to kind of get me to the next level. So when I got hired in 2015, I was like, wow, I was excited. This is stability. Everything's looking up. Things are getting better. But then even when everything is going good, it's still something that was missing, and I really couldn't tell you what it was. And, working for a company, it was different. I was around a lot of positive people. It's almost as if our training class was family. And that's what I needed. I needed that. But I still, in the midst of it all, I still was going through things, at home, in my relationship. It was a lot that I had to deal with. I just didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't really talk to anybody about it. A lot of the time I went on social media, which that definitely wasn't the way. But I used to do that because I used to feel like, hey, these are the only people that's going to listen. I really wasn't worried about who was going to judge me or who had anything to say about it. I just needed to get it out some type of way. That was my outlet. I had a manager that I was really close with. He was very understanding. It's not, it's not often that comes by. And in 2016, I just had a mental breakdown. I was going through too much, everything. I was just too overwhelmed, and I ended up trying to commit suicide. I took a bottle of 50 pills. And, at that point, when I did decide to make that decision, in the back of my head, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hell. I am, but God, please forgive me. I just don't want to be in pain anymore. And it's sad, but it's the truth that at that point I wasn't even thinking about my son. That's how hurt and overwhelmed and just how over it I was with everybody, everything. I wasn't even thinking about my son. And I think by him seeing me in the hospital room, still kind of out of it, but I could still see him and stuff, that right there woke me up. Like, you really have to get it together. You got to do something. You can't. Your son is all that you have. His dad isn't here. He really don't have anybody. He needs you. You got to get it together. Just seeing his face woke me up. Like, I couldn't go out like that. So, of course, I had to, they had to admit me into a mental hospital where I had to stay for 3 or 4 days. And, you know, I used to be embarrassed about, you know, therapy and all this other stuff, but you're around all these different type of people that's going through way worse things than you are. And it's just like, oh, okay, this is normal. I'm not the only one going through stuff. I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this. And just by me even going through that, everything started to change for me, you know, in a positive way.
I've seen so many impossible stories become possible, you know. If we can do it, it can be done. And if you got God on your side, and there's nothing you can't do, what you waiting for?
Cause nothing is by chance. Give me the strength to understand the things you see that I can't. I took all my problems and I put it all in your hands. I know that it's your plan. If it was easy, no, I wouldn't be a stronger man. Now I put my bets on you, cause nothing's by chance.
And in the midst of me, you know, in a situation I was in, like I stated, I had a manager I was really close to. I actually reached out to him to let him know what was going on, and he understood, took care of everything that I needed to take care of, you know. He took care of it for me at work. And to come to find out, when, you know, a few months after, down the line, I ended up having to get switched from his team. So to leave someone that, you know, knew mostly everything about you, knew your situation, to go to a whole nother person that knows nothing about you, and, you know, this person doesn't have the best reputation, you know, as far as, well, that's what they were telling me. And come to find out, going to her team was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. You know, she was actually the person that kind of got me out of this dark place, because, like, you know, she actually took the time to listen to me, and despite, you know, what everyone else thought of her, it was just like, no, she was really genuine, she really cared, and she really was like a mentor to me. You know, she went through a lot of things, she was human too, and she actually believed in me, and I feel like it really takes one person to believe in you, because prior to this, I was, you know, I just did enough to get by. We're just going to be honest. I didn't really put in a lot of effort into certain things, because I'm just like, you know, I'm not good enough. But she made me feel, and she showed me, like, you are good enough. You have the potential, you know, you're strong, you're this, and just by her doing that, you know, I started succeeding, winning awards. She started putting me, you know, taking me out of my comfort zone, doing things that I wouldn't normally do. And because of that, honestly, she's the reason I am the way that I am now. Like, I have a lot more self-discipline. I have a lot more, you know, confidence. I have a lot more understanding, you know. I'm consistent with a lot of things. I'm not so hard on myself anymore. I'm a lot more positive. You know, and for her, I really, really think that, because she literally doesn't know that she really changed everything for me. She literally made me have a different outlook on life, and, like, you know what, it's going to get better. And for that, I appreciate that. Now, you know, I'm doing so much just because of what she taught me, and that's all I needed. I just needed one person to believe in me, and that's it, you know. And for that, I appreciate it. So after she came into my life, everything was good. You know, I was doing better. You know, I was a lot happier. Everything was okay. You know, I didn't really have any mental breakdowns. You know, if I was going through something, I knew how to cope. I knew what things I needed to do to get up out of that. But it was rare situations where that happened. But when I found out I was pregnant, I can honestly tell you that put me back into a dark place. And the reason is because I just never wanted my son to ever feel like he wasn't mommy's little boy. I never wanted him to feel like he came second to anybody. It was just always me and him for 6 years. And for me to have to bring another baby into this world, like, how am I going to do this? Like, I just never wanted my son to feel alone how I felt. So for a while, it took me a while to accept that. For a while, I remember it would be people at my job, And they wouldn't know anything, but, you know, one day I took my jacket off, and everybody's like, when did that happen? I'm like, 7 months ago. Like, wow, you didn't, like, why you didn't say anything? I said, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt like financially I wasn't in a great spot. You know, I wanted to be married. You know, I didn't want to be just a baby mother. Here I am about to have another child. And when I found out she was a girl, I can honestly say, like, after that, I was like, oh, Lord, I'm bringing another girl. I'm bringing a girl into this world. Look at all the crazy things that happened to me. I just didn't know how to deal with it. I was in denial for a very, very, very long time. I think it really took until my baby shower for me to accept everything. And I was, what, 8.5 months, going to give birth real soon, that, you know, I was like, you know what, everything happens for a reason. Like, I'm just going to embrace it, and we're just going to see how this goes. And when she came into this world, she just made me so happy. Like, who would have ever thought such a little human being, even though my son, like, that was my everything. He still is my everything. But I just felt complete at that point. I honestly felt complete. I knew something was missing, but that just made me feel whole. Like, I love this little girl to death. So my daughter really just completed everything. She makes me happy. Both of my kids make me happy. You know, I just didn't feel like I was the motherly type. I just didn't feel like, you know, I could be a mother to 2 kids, but I'm doing it. You know, and everything happens for a reason. You know, my daughter, at the time, I didn't understand why this was happening, because this was something that I was not trying to plan. This was something that, you know, I was not ready for. But I just see at this point that she actually came into my life to keep me sane. Fast forwarding to now, even though everything I went through, it's my story. You know, everything happens for a reason. It's a reason I am the way that I am today. You know, and I feel like it has made me strong. It has made me fearless. You know, I got a lot of backlash for, you know, wanting to tell my story. But I feel like it's my story, you know, and if it can help somebody get through it, then my job is done. You know, I just want others that have maybe been through something similar, just know that brighter days are coming. It's not going to be easy, but you just got to keep faith. You know, you just got to believe everything is going to get better. And it will. And in my case, things aren't what I want them to be right now, but, you know, I'm a lot better than what I was 6 years ago. And, you know, for that just means that everything that I've been through definitely Now, everything isn't what, you know, I want it to be, but I can honestly say I'm officially in blooming season, and it can only get better from here.
It's gonna all work out sooner than later. You don't have to worry about tomorrow. It's gonna work out in your favor.